Hey there. Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over the doctor's data tests that directlabs.com sells. These are mail-in kits that you can order, and this is what we did here. Sorry, it's my cat there. So I want to show you a before. And then 5 months later, this is my mom here, as she is detoxing from heavy metal toxicity. And I want to show you, just kind of show you some of how the before and after is. Now she's on glutathione, 1,000 milligrams. She's taking 500 milligrams in the morning and then 500 in the evening. Okay. So what's really nice about the doctor's data tests is you have this very beautiful color-coded chart to very succinctly, these are considered the high values, right? So anything over that is considered high, okay? And then these are your actual values of what you are showing. And this is a hair test, okay? So here we are. This was, let's see, February 22nd. I collected it off my mom's head. And then this is the date it was, let's see, completed. Yeah, they're pretty quick. It was completed 5 days later. So now you can see here, her lead level was 1.3. It only went down slightly. Now, there was a water issue also. This is not just our suspects, targeting my mom after they were mad at me for figuring them out. There was also a copper-lead issue with the water. They were getting a new water system in. So, what we did was we had the assisted living do pure filters, and we did a lot of stuff to try to mitigate this issue with, the water that she would wash up with and dishes and stuff with. So you see here, her lead is high, copper is just absolutely ridiculous level. And I'm sorry, cat is here. And then now our suspects did use zinc, and we'll show you the Carlson Company tests where, why? I'll show you in a minute, when I show you the description of why they use zinc and the symptoms it causes. But uranium, this is very crazy. Look at her uranium level. And in the other tests we did, yes, uranium was another thing that our suspects used. Crazy. And my mom, with the copper level and that, her shakes, her hands shaking was just tremendous. And she was always, then saying to me as I was visiting her, like, oh, why are my hands shaking? And my poor mom has dementia, not from this, but from years ago. And I would explain that she had some toxicity where, she's taking supplements, it's being, we're taking care of it, and just to be patient. And the shaking did go away. As you can see, this is now 5 months, exactly 5 months later. So this test I did on February 22nd. This is now 5 months later, exactly. All right. And the difference, this is just, like I said, it's 500 milligrams glutathione in the morning, 500 in the evening. Look at the levels in the green for now the zinc and the copper. We were just thrilled. I was just thrilled to see that. And then uranium is a little bit harder to get out of the body. But it did significantly go down. It's now at 0.4 here, at 0.4, and over here it was at 3.4, which is it was really upsetting when I saw that. So still in the yellow, but at least significantly down. Now the other concern here was there was also a nurse's aide that I actually met around the time that I was coming to do this. And from this woman's demeanor and her flaw, you know, she was like schmoozing over my mom. I could tell she was fake. You know, this is my psychic intuition coming in and saying, I could just tell something was off, because you can see here now the lead's going down. I think that's a little bit harder to get down. That's from the water, but it is coming down. But you see that her arsenic was starting to creep up. Okay, the cadmium level was creeping up again. Mercury went up a little bit, and when she had been hospitalized in January for fainting, all right, this is 2 months before we did this test. And I'll show you in a separate little video the Mayo Clinic test that I had the hospital do, because I said forensically I need something with forensic modality, because our suspects are using nanotechnology to hide the elements. And that's what I like also about the doctor's data. Okay, they use one of the two forensic modalities, which is mass chromatography. So that's why basically most of these elements will come through. Okay, it'll uncover the nano. The only thing that our suspects also used was pretty high levels of arsenic and thallium, and that for whatever reason that doesn't really show here. It wouldn't have been tremendously high, but it should have showed something. Like thallium C is showing nothing, and the arsenic shows some, but at least enough is coming through to say, okay, something's going on. You know, it gives you it does give you an indication. And the good thing also is, I noticed with these tests, if there was mercury, and we're going to look through another test for another family member, the mercury and those things definitely come through. And so anyway, this was just thrilling for me to see that in 5 months that we got her zinc and copper in the green, and this was tremendously down. And what I like about this also is that with the glutathione, even if she's actively, which it looks like, she's actively getting a little bit more in her from this nurse's aid. And the other thing we found out, my mom, happens, you know, kind of, things happen for a reason. My mom said to me during that visit, she said, oh, the nurse gives me a sleeping pill when she sees me at night and says it'll help me sleep. And this was a red flag, because my mom was on the independent side in this particular place. And I said, that's a nurse's aid. And I said, you have your pill and vitamin box. They're by law, this is in New Jersey, by law, they're not supposed to do that. And certainly not pull it out of their pocket to give. You know, that is like completely against the law. So I filed a formal complaint to that nurse's aid company. I explained what was going on. I said, we don't want this particular individual seeing my mom, because I said I suspect there's something not right going on. And of course the local police didn't want to do anything because the case was started in California. But anyway, so by Christmas, because another incident occurred that I complained about, by Christmas, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas of 2019, they fired that aide. So they said it wasn't because of what I said, but something pretty egregious from the 2 incidents I reported on to them told them to can this nurse's aide. So we didn't have to worry about that. And so anyway, I'm just giving you an indication of how protective glutathione is and how well it works, and gently, in pulling the toxicity out. The other thing that is really nice, besides this having such a nice color coding here is I'm going to show you that they have a lovely diagram. If there is an element that comes in high, they give you a beautiful description. They show you, what is, say, in this case, uranium, what it is, and then it will go through some of the things that it can cause. Let's see here. If that's in there. Yeah, chronic fatigue. I'm sorry, I'm trying to. There you go. Chronic fatigue, often reported in association with that. And then it says DTPA. Now, DTPA is a chemical that is a chelating agent that they can use for, like, say, for mercury poisoning, for certain poisonings. Now, they say that's an agent you would use. You see, it says it has to be done immediately, not effective once it's, and metals move from the blood to tissues within a week. And we knew, this was a slow poisoning thing. Who knows when it would happen? And we also know the glutathione works for any toxin. So it doesn't, I wasn't concerned when I read that. And we're already seeing that, we're already seeing that it was working. It was already taking it down to 0.4 from 3.4. So glutathione is amazing. It's amazing. So that's for that, to show you that, and now we'll show you in this next little one another example. Okay, so here we have, and I'm sorry that these doctors' data tests weren't, printed in color. I'm running out of color ink on my printer, so this is in black and white, but you can still, see the contrast here. So this is my ex-partner's cousin, and we'll call her Jay, and she also had been targeted by our suspects because these people kind of married into the family, unfortunately, and anyway, so here is also a before. This is the older part of her hair, and this is the newer part of her hair. Now, her hair is long. It was collected on May 4th, same date, May 4th. But what I did was I tested the older part of her hair a month after the more recent. Now, the newer part of your hair is close to your scalp. It's that 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch or so from your scalp. That's the newest part of your hair, okay, which represents the last, month or so, okay? Our hair grows about 1/4 inch every month, all right, average, all right? And then I wanted to see the difference because she had been on glutathione starting in January. So she's only been on glutathione for, let's say, about 4 months, okay? So the other reason I wanted to test the older part of her hair was in the fall. It was right around between October and November, was around the last time she had a visit with our suspect, okay? And the suspect does her usual, she makes a meal for the person and all that stuff, gives them baked cookies to take home as well. Anyway, so you can see the difference. Her zinc level is just crazy. It's now here it's at 750. Okay, of course it's in the red there. Now in the newer part, because she's already, she's been on glutathione since January. So the difference of this is going to be like a March-April time frame. the difference, 380. It doesn't look like it's down much, but that's pretty significant. From 750 to 380, that's huge. That's huge. And then also, let's see here, silver went down, went down. It was a little bit high over here. Vanadium was up a bit. All those levels did come down as well. Came down. Now aluminum, people use, aluminum with their underarm deodorant. So that tends to be a little bit high for some people. So it's not at a toxic level, but it's there. And the uranium. Now uranium, she wasn't as high as my mom, thankfully, but she was a little high here, 0.25. And then she's on glutathione, it's come down to 0.14. All right. Now, the other thing that you'll notice also is her arsenic level was creeping up a little bit too, like my mom. This, again, doesn't surprise me because her husband also, in my mom's case, we still had the nurse's aid to contend with, probably putting a little extra in her. In this case, and I did talk to her about this because I had this issue when I had sex with my ex-partner and he was full of getting all this in him. Arsenic accumulates in a man's testes. And I actually will pull it out in a separate little video. I'll show you the boatload of arsenic I got just having sex with him. And because as he was recuperating, we couldn't have relations for a while, and all of that arsenic then accumulated in the testes. Jay got the same thing, happened the same thing, and we'll go over in another video of what happens to you physically down there besides the burning. And obviously with that amount of arsenic, you start to feel ill and you don't feel well, and you have to. It took me about 3 weeks to recover from that. So that I'm not kind of surprised about. She's probably getting some arsenic in her indirectly from her husband, and she did. She had the same problems I had. Anyway, we'll talk about that. There's some very interesting things that happen to a woman when you get arsenic that way. But let me talk to you about zinc. Let's look at the write-up for zinc, because I didn't show that to you in the last video, and the problems that zinc causes. Now, so we have this nice little write-up of this one's of zinc, and again they talk about different exposure and stuff like that. And then you have this beautiful little write-up here of what is zinc and what the levels can indicate if it's high in the hair. Okay. And then you're going over down at the bottom there. What are the symptoms excess zinc can cause? So you have gastrointestinal disorders. And it says decreased hemming, but that's a copper. Let me just see. Copper deficiency. So a high level of zinc could actually deplete your copper levels. Tachycardia, blurred vision, and hypothermia. Okay. And then, of course, her level of uranium was high, so this is the same write-up that my mom had regarding uranium, chronic fatigue and things like that. Now, you're going to say, well, tachycardia, hypothermia, and all that is, and we know the GI issues. Arsenic, thallium, barium, they all can also cause the GI issues as well. Besides mercury. Mercury does that too. So I am not saying, when you say, oh, tachycardia, does that mean there's going to be high zinc in the COVID shots? That's not necessarily the case, because mercury can do that too. But that's another indication to me when I see these similar symptoms with the COVID shot, and that there is a test that was done that an independent lab did that did show mercury and traces of the glyphosate. And mercury, like I said, can do that too with the GI issues. I talked about that in the first video. Tachycardia, thrombosis, that mercury can cause those too. So, but this gives you a very beautiful, because if you were high in mercury, I'd expect you were going to have the mercury write-up telling you, okay, here's your symptoms and this is what this causes. So, beautiful just presentation in giving you a good layout of what's going on with you, time-wise, especially with your hair. So if you have, and again, we're going to go over some more tests and review the before and afters and stuff as well. But I would say if it's been a while since you had the COVID shot, all right, I would say, and it's been more than 4 weeks, you're better off, I'm sorry, that's my cat in the background there. You're better off doing a hair test, because everything in the body that is going through you eventually comes out in our hair. Okay, so it's a great indicator of what's going on in the body over time. Blood, like I said, it leaves the blood within a week. So unless you immediately did a test immediately from doing the shot, I would say you're still better off doing urine at that point. I don't trust with the nanobot. There is a nanobot. I'll pull that email up in another video from my toxicologist. There is a nanobot in the shots, so I would say you're better off with urine or hair. But I for most people, because it's usually been some time since they had the shot, if it's more than a month, going on 2 months, I would say hair is fine. But if it's within the first month, I'd say urine. And I did have my friend Kathy, I have to pull up her test, that she did the 24-hour urine test for doctor's data, and that did show phenomenal. It definitely showed she had some stuff going on. I'll have to see if I can. That wasn't to me digitally. She, gave me some sort of paper copy, so I'll have to see if I can find that. But again, I'm just showing you how well that glutathione works, and it's working gently. It's not in a your body stays in a calm state as you're detoxing. And yes, if you're going to get hit with arsenic, I guess, when you're having relations with your partner and you're going to go through some things, obviously you're going to have to take some extra potassium for cramping, Pepto-Bismol for any gastro stuff. There's some things you're probably going to still need to do besides glutathione, besides fish oil, to protect your heart and your brain. Of course, your extra vitamin D and, your other supplements. But, yeah, I mean, it's a really good layout in terms of seeing where you're at. And that's it right now for that. And I will get back to you, I think, with looking at the Carlson Company tests, which do both modalities. So if you're really concerned about any nanobots hiding, like I'll show you the levels of thallium we had in us, and the arsenic, and a few other things that a couple of the elements that didn't get captured here. But again, it's still basically giving you a very good factor for everything else. That's it. I will catch you in the next video. Thanks.